Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new week of Date Forever. In this week's episode, we'll be chatting about creating your dream life as a couple, even if it may not look conventional, living and learning together through different stages of life, and how a spoonful of Nutella can change everything. But before we get into it, Sammy, what's been filling you up this week?
We had a double date.
Did we?
Yeah, with your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to the theatre and we saw Come From Away. And if you get the chance to see it, go. It was so much fun. I really loved the show.
The show was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. And like for anyone who doesn't know anything about it, it's basically there's this really, really small town who happened to receive a whole heap of diverted flights when the attack occurred on September 11. So the planes that were in the air got redirected and a whole heap of them got directed to this tiny little town. And it's the story of how this town managed this logistical situation. Yeah, and it was really fun. And it was really nice to go. And we got cheap last minute tickets, which is always nice. But if you get the chance, go. It was just, really fun.
And the show was really beautiful and had a really, really nice message to it.
Yeah. So we did, dinner and tacos with your parents and then dinner and a show.
Very nice.
What about you, Nath? What fueled you up this past week?
I've been having a few bigger chats about my career this week, which has been pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, there's been some movement in your workplace, hey?
Yeah, so there's been a little bit of movement in my workplace and just a few opportunities that have come out of that. So there's nothing really nailed down yet, but it's just kind of reinvigorated a bit of fire in my belly around my career and opportunities and where I might like to move.
What do you do?
I'm an engineer, engineering manager.
What kind of engineer?
Trained as an electrical engineer, but now an engineering manager.
Did you always know that you wanted to be an engineer?
I did. I don't really know where it came from, but I always loved playing around with electronics and things like that and pulling stuff apart. And it's always been a part of me that I've really, really enjoyed. And so I think trying to understand what this next step is and trying to guide my career a little bit more has been really great this last week.
Yeah. What are you excited about? In the time that we've been together, I think you've had maybe 3 employers. A few different jobs in that time, but I think 3 employers and one of them was Cafe Primo.
It was a great hospo job.
So what are you excited about now?
So I think I'm excited about something fresh and new and taking on some new challenges. And now here's this week's guests.
Today we've got Tina and Matt Tower joining us. Tina is a coach to online course creators, business strategist, podcast host, author, speaker, mama of 2 boys, colour lover, and cultivator of joy. Along with her, we've got her husband, Matt, who is a surfer, also a papa of 2 boys, and online business manager. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thanks. Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, what that intro doesn't say is that you actually work together.
Yeah. Yes. Together but separate.
Yeah.
Together but separate. Maybe we'll start there. Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
Yeah. So I've been in business my whole adult life. So since I was 20, I started my first business and then it's grown from there. And it was 2 or 3 years ago that I was looking to hire someone, and Matt had been a stay-at-home dad for the last 6 years. And so he was looking to go back to work. And I was like, hang on a minute, this could be your perfect role. And you basically keep that part of the business totally separate now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, wow. So what's your role then, Matt?
So I just build online course websites and do the maintenance of people's websites and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, very nice.
So it's relevant for our members and, it's just in that space.
Yep.
And he's not in sales, which you can clearly tell.
That's your job, Tina.
That's my job.
So, Matt, if you're a stay-at-home dad for 6 years, the 2 of you have obviously been together for quite a while. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown of your relationship and how you first met?
You know, you said at the start, like, is there any story off limits? Tell your story.
Yeah,
of how
well,
we met.
how are you going to? I like to hear your version. It gets better every time you tell it.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Which version is
I
it going to
can't
be?
wait for this. Like, what seedy place did you meet?
I'm like, because I was a very different person than I am now. So we,
Come on, that's only 5 years ago, wasn't it?
yeah. Well, it can't possibly be that long ago.
Can't be that long ago.
So it was like 20 years ago, nearly.
Yeah.
So a long time ago. But
Before the internet.
So I'd only been 18 for a couple of months and went out to a club for like the second or third time, and then spotted across the bar this very cute looking surfer boy and decided that I loved him. And unfortunately then, like a minute later, saw him kissing another girl and was like, it's okay. I am not one to take no for an answer, so I'm sure like we'll suss this out. And so I got my friend that I was with to talk to his friend. And
How very 18 of you.
I know, right? Isn't it? This story is like so embarrassingly 18. But then, so his friend, so get this right. So my friend went and talked to his friend. His friend tapped Matt on the shoulder. Matt turns around, looks at me and shakes his head no. Right? And so I'm like,
The audacity.
oh. Yeah. But still undeterred. And so then he went to the bar to get a drink and I went and started talking to him, but nothing really happened. Like nothing happened there. He did not have eyes for me. And then like literally 3 days later, I was in a video store where my ex-boyfriend worked. So I was going to say hi to him. He was there because the girl that he was kissing worked there, and we crossed paths with that, and I went, oh hey, you're the cute boy from the club, and you know, flirted up a storm like a crazy person. And then it happened, he was talking about me to a friend that he worked with. This is the most convoluted story.
It's the truth, but it's complicated.
It's the truth, but it's like
it involves a Blockbuster video store. It is a story of the ages.
Yeah, and then he went to work and talked about this crazy girl that he'd just met that was like a hurricane. And the guy that he worked with went, oh my gosh, I know that girl. I went to school with her. And so he got my number and then he sent me a text message saying, hi, I'm Matt. And then that day we had like 20 text messages back and forth.
Classic Nokia.
Back when they cost 25 cents each and had a character limit.
Right. That was like the big thing. And yeah, then that's how it all started. So it was meant to be, and I may have helped the universe along just a little.
By stalking your ex-boyfriend and running into the cute boy from the bar. Oh, Tina.
The only lie there was the cute boy.
And from that point, was it just on?
Pretty much.
Yeah, then we dated for a while and...
Yeah, I left the start bit out. I'll say that. So my business audience, I apologize for what I'm about to say. But so when we started text messaging and that sort of thing, we caught up for the first time and I said, you know, what happened to the other girl? Is she still around?
Oh, God, no.
And he said,
No.
And he said, oh no. And he said,
she's a Christian girl and she won't let me touch her boobs. And so I went,
you can touch mine.
And I reckon from that moment on, like, I've had him.
That was the hook.
Simple pleasure, eh? Simple pleasures.
Well, all right. So this was back in the age of video stores. You've obviously come a really long way since then. Tell us a little bit about the journey that you've been on together in your relationship.
God, how many lives have we lived?
Lots.
Mm.
Yeah, we've done lots of different things, but it's never been dull, I guess.
No, it's never been dull.
There's been lots of hard times and there's been lots of good times, and I think we're probably at our best spot now, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon too. Yeah. We did everything pretty early. I mean, Matt's nearly 5 years older than me, but we got married when I was 21 and then started having babies when I was 24. So we were quite young to the party, and I think that was really nice. Like, it was very beneficial. We've grown a lot together and gone through so many different businesses, and we've been wealthy and we've been very, very poor. We've had
more of the later.
we were poorer for longer. But yeah, we've moved like all over the place. We left Sydney and lived on farm together. We've traveled around the world for a year with our kids as well and had so many adventures. I think we worked out like last year when COVID hit and we were in Depression City about travel that we've been to over 50 countries together. Like it's just, we've had some adventures.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, isn't it?
So how have you gone about designing that life that you really want to be living?
Yeah, that's a good question. The thing is, for a lot of people who get caught up in a career that they love, it would be very hard. Whereas for me, I could give 2 tenths of stuff all about a career. I'm more about the, what does the day-to-day look like and how are we, best using our time, helping people that we can, and then just having that flexibility. So because we've always had that flexibility and we haven't wanted to be tied down, that's allowed us to have the freedom to do different things.
And Tina, your businesses have very much been about creating a life for yourself, but also for your clients too, yes?
Yeah, so I guess I'm really lucky in, like, I have a lot of women in business ask me how it works because the statistic, I mean, when I'm 37 now, so whenever I'm at business conferences and that sort of thing, there's a whole heap of people in their late 30s, early 40s, especially ambitious women that end up divorced. It's just super, super common. And, when they say, how do you have a partnership like that with Matt? Like, I am actually really lucky that he's not ambitious at all because it means that I can craft the life that I want to lead. And Matt's super happy to just be along for the ride because he doesn't, he loves to surf and loves the simple pleasures in life that I'm like, I want bigger, I want better, I want more. And he's like, yeah, sweet. Like he was happy, living in a granny flat just
I didn't
as
mind
he
the
is.
granny flat. I had good sunshine.
And I'm like, what? Really? You're happy with that? No. He's like, yeah, whatever makes you happy. So that's worked really well for us because, I wanted to live this big life and he loves living this big adventurous life that we have, but wouldn't ever drive that himself. So I get to live a life together doing what I want, which is really good.
I think that's really beautiful. And I want to touch on something that you said there because you said that Matt really enjoys like the simple things and those pleasures. I'm guessing that he helps ground you in some of those things too, so that you're not constantly seeking the next big, better thing. Or is she still going a million miles an hour?
Now the big things have changed. Now it's just about trying to have a bigger impact. So Tina's not overly, like, as far as flashiness goes, you're not really, look at what you're in, we're no, like, we're not,
what are you trying to say?
We're not flashy people.
No, we're not flashy people.
What you're striving for isn't the flashy lifestyle. What you're striving for is a big impact life. So when you're driving for things, it's just driving for your values of happiness for a lot of people and causing impact and helping enable a lot of people to live that same life too. So it's not so much about like what you're striving for. It's great, It's not like I just want to strive this so I can get some fancy other thing. Like it's not a shallow life; it's a impact.
But I do
life.
think, like, you very true on the. Like Matt does ground me a lot. Like if I get too caught up in work, which I have a tendency to do because I'm really lucky in that I love my work, love it. But it also can go into total workaholicalism because I just want to do it all day, every day. And
You've got more ideas than time.
I've got more ideas than time, always. And more like I go, we could do this and we could do that and we could do this. But I am but one woman.
Well, we're still trying to put out those ideas from a year ago.
We are. But like one of the most beautiful things last year was, Matt decided to get a jet ski so that I could learn to tow him on to waves so that I could step away from my desk and more outside. And so we could do something where, we felt like kids again and were laughing and having fun and doing that. And, never before had I kind of been into his whole surfing world. They always kept it like very, very separate because very uncool, like when you're young, to have your wife hanging around. Whereas now it's so much fun. But I think if I didn't have you, I would just work all day. I would be terrible. Whereas Matt's like, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's go to the beach.
And if I didn't have you, I'd never work.
Yeah. He'd be a bum living out of the back of his van and very happy though.
We've proved that when I had my own business.
I really like this yin and yang that you've got.
Yeah. We are an opposites attract. We have a lot of people say you and Matt have nothing in common, which I actually don't agree with, but practically we don't. We have a very strong value system that's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But everything else around that is completely different.
So you mentioned that you packed up the 2 boys and the 2 of you and you went overseas for, I think it was a year or so, right? Tell us a little bit about that. What did you have to do to get your life in a state where you could do that?
We ran away.
Yeah. There's a few life admin things that were thing.
Oh, the spreadsheet. My gosh, the spreadsheet.
But was it a big decision or was it a spur of the moment
No, it
thing?
was a spur of the moment.
No.
Was it always part of the vision?
No, it wasn't part of the vision. The last business really drove us there, I would say. Yeah,
We had the
We
idea.
had the idea and we thought of
I
it.
remember we were in Africa.
Yeah. But so we thought of it a long time ago before we had kids.
Yeah, it was just before I fell pregnant with Kai.
So we had like the idea, and then at the sale of the last one, it was really tough. And so we needed to really break that. If we didn't do something big to shake it up, it would have still been a burden now, I reckon. So it really was something we had to do was sort of
like mark the end of that chapter.
we had to sort of mark the end of a chapter and start afresh, you know.
And I needed to reconnect again. Like by the end of my last business, I was kind of working 12-hour days, and I just turned into a bit of a grouchy bum in that last year. And like I needed to go and reconnect with Matt and reconnect with the kids and you know, get that life back. And it did. Like if anyone, I mean, yes, we're in COVID times now, but I tell you what, traveling just makes you.
You could do it around Australia now.
You could, yeah.
Lots of people are doing that. Van prices are through the roof.
Yeah, but it was such a good adventure. But we sold our house and our cars and our furniture and just took our bags and off we went, which was very liberating and very scary. And Cohen, our younger son, and I loved it. We would have kept traveling, but we came back because Matt and Kai had enough.
Ready to stop living out of a suitcase.
Yeah.
Get some roots down again. Yeah. So was that a one and done, or do you think you'll do it again?
No, we'll never do it again. This is the short answer.
Not with the kids.
Yeah. So we made a promise to Kai, our eldest, because he really likes routine and likes the comfort and safety of home, that we would stay in the one house, because we moved when we got this house was our 11th move in 18 years.
Wow.
So we promised him that we would stay. We would not move because, you know, I'm a bit antsy and I'm like, oh, we could go here, we could go there. Let's go this. Let's change our lives completely. And yeah, it got to the point where that was enough. So I promised that I wouldn't move anywhere for the next 10 years. And now that we found this house, I actually think for the first time ever that we've been somewhere where we're like, this is us. We're set for life. Like, bury me out the back. I'm done.
Feels like home.
Yeah, but we will travel a lot more. Like with Cohen, my younger one, I said, look, when COVID finishes, we'll go to Africa for a month each year, or to California, or go on little adventures. And I would love to do that for as long as he'll still travel with his mama.
Yeah. Which teenage boys, I assume, grow out of.
Yeah, I don't have long.
So what does romance look like for the two of you? Like, how do you go about carving out time for the two of you?
Yeah, so a big one we do is we have our cup of tea, and for me, coffee in the morning, and then breakfast together.
That makes us sound so boring and old, but it actually, I think, is like one of the most important things that we do.
Because we debrief about the day.
Yeah.
What happened yesterday. Because by the end of the day, we're done. We don't want to talk about anything that happened in the day by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well,
I have no words left.
No words left. So then we talk about that, what's ahead, and have that sort of connection in the morning.
You know what, though? With the cups of tea, the amount of people that actually tell us that that's the time that they have to connect with each other and actually sit down together.
Especially the couples who have made it a practice.
Yeah.
That it's not a thing that they do once in a while, but it's embedded into the way that they actually do life. And they've really been quite intentional about the thing. Sometimes it's, people who have a really strong debrief when I get home from work practice, or they have a let's go for a run together practice, or a walk the dog together practice, or a morning cup of tea, or a yoga and stretch practice. It's really interesting that those habits of connection, they get embedded into your life and your relationship.
I love it. It's just unrushed. It's just like, we just sit there and we look at the backyard and we listen to the birds, and it's just really lovely. And then the other thing for me is going to bed at the same time. Like if we don't do that for a few nights in a row, I'm like, come to me. But yeah, in terms of romance, it is harder now than it has ever been because we have teenage sons. So like talking about sex life and things, that part now is harder than when we had small children because like
They're up later.
They're up later. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like they hear the bed of rock and they know what's happening and that's just gross for them. So it's actually a lot harder now than it has ever been. So we've had to get a lot more creative with how we and
the times are limited now, you know.
Yeah. But in terms of like little romantic things like this, there's so much that will probably embarrass you, but there's a lot that Matt does to take care of me in terms of like he brings me a store-bought coffee every day after he drops the kids at school and brings me that and fills up my ice trays and brings my blanket to me in the night. Like he's very
acts of service.
Takes care of me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What's yours, Matt? How do you get romanced?
Tina romances me all the time.
I do.
It's the boobs, isn't it?
Game of Thrones. You're like, you're only embarrassing yourself here. No, because I do think it's important. And, you know, the reason we said yes was it's important that people stay together, you know, it's much nicer and there's different things that you do to do that. And a lot of it is like Matt likes the fun. You know, he likes life, doesn't like it to be too serious. And so he liked Game of Thrones. So he came back one day and, you know, in head to toe, the full Game of Thrones outfit with the long curly hair wig and everything. And I mean, that gets the party started. So there's a lot of...
That's very outside the box. I like that.
Yeah, but there's lots
of dress-up outfits that you like to do.
There is. There's a lot of things that I'll do just to make him laugh.
She does do lots of things to make me laugh.
So if we went back to 18-year-old and 5 years older than that, my maths isn't that quick, Tina and Matt, what do you wish those two people knew then that you know now?
Yeah, that's a hard question, isn't it? Because a lot of the things like we've just had to go through.
I think the learning process is good and you should just be open. And it's the same theory I've always had with it is just I've always just wanted the best. And I'd say the same thing to myself, as long as you keep wanting the best for Tina and just be nice and have fun. And
you had to teach me to communicate properly. That was a big thing because I came from a really tumultuous childhood where a lot of people yelled and there was violence and there was a whole lot of things going on that, you know, I had massive insecurities around. If Matt was ever unhappy with me, I would then turn around and be like, you're going to leave me. I would catastrophize so easily and was so insecure about, you know, all I wanted to do was get married and have babies and stay married forever. I just wanted to have this beautiful family unit that we could create. And it took me a good 10 years, I think, to believe that he wasn't going to leave me at any moment. And that, you know, like there's so many times early in our relationship and when we had young kids that like he would have to say to me, like, I'm not going at it. Like, it's okay. Like, you need to shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You laugh, Tina, but I think that's not uncommon. We've had a couple of conversations on the show where people have been like, it was only 5 years in or 10 years in where I actually put both feet in. And I really was 100% present and felt like I'm not leaving. I'm not going to bail out or my partner's not going to bail out. And that sense of we are truly all in this together. And that hasn't necessarily always happened at the point where marriage occurs, which seems like that is the moment. But it sounds like that's not the case for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I know I was all in and I know Matt was all in, but I don't think we believed each other was all in. Or like you see like 50% of divorces and you go, is that going to be us? Like, are we going to get through that? And we had so many hard times. And I did so many things as well in terms of, you know, like when the kids were young and I was trying to build the business still and Matt was working full-time, more than full-time, he was working full-time and overtime. And then I would take that money and put it back into the business and leave us with nothing. And I mean, who puts up with that? Like, that was big. And I did that for a while. But I think for us, like a real turning point was when we had our 10-year wedding anniversary. So we've been married 16 years this year. So a little while ago. And that to me was way more significant than our first wedding because it was, we had the kids there and they did vows to the family, but it was also like we actually know each other now. Like we were kids when we got married and, you know, still trying to figure out who we were individually and who we were together and what sort of life we were going to create. And there was such a moment there.
Yeah, we'd gone through harder times. We'd learnt how to deal with it. We'd grown up as people together. We'd had lots more shared experiences, which made it stronger. I mean, we had shared experiences beforehand, but nothing like we'd gone through in the first 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a big thing of going, like, I know you, and I like you.
And I still choose you.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, you know. It's just we like each other.
Yeah. I know that's a big thing. Like, we talk to a lot of our friends that go, they don't like each other that much. There's still no one else I would rather spend time with than Matt. Like, we have a lot of fun. Yeah.
What is it that you think you do that fosters that continual, like, not just loving each other, but liking each other as people?
I think you're the lightest part of my life, the easiest part. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, we don't try to make life hard for each other. We definitely try to make life easier for each other.
Yeah. I know consciously we're very kind to one another. Like, every year we'll sit there and go, how can we be better parents? What else can we do to be better parents? And what else can we do to be better lovers to each other? And making sure that we don't, you know, it's so easy to pick on the one that you're with, especially in hard times. But it was really conscious for us to go, we will never do that to each other. Like, we're always going to be nice.
Yeah, I really love that. And Tina, we understand that you've got a really beautiful monthly practice to carve out time for yourself. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, you know, if people didn't think it was already like the Selfish Tina show.
You've come on a show called Date Forever, so we'll get to Matt's dating himself.
Yeah, Matt does plenty of things like this, like on a daily basis. But
let's dwell on you.
Yeah. So for me, at the end of every month, the last Friday of every month, I actually take the day and go and get a 2-hour massage. And then I have a really bougie lunch for myself. It's usually half a lobster and an espresso martini.
Sounds perfect.
And I sit there and I journal and I reflect on the month and go over all the business figures and our P&Ls and where we went well, where we fell short, and then make the plan for the following 30 days and do that. So it's kind of work, but kind of like, you know, it's time away from life and everything. And I love that day.
Yeah.
Do you have any other practices for yourself that are really about you and Tina time?
The rest is work time.
The rest is work time. Yeah.
The rest is work time. The rest is the 30-odd days a month of work time, or 29, depending on the month.
No. I mean, I've tried a lot harder consciously in the last couple of years. Like you know, spend a lot of time with the dogs and with the kids at night, and I plan a veggie garden. I'm doing piano lessons.
You are carving out a bit more time.
Yeah. Still work too much though, apparently.
Still cancel the piano lessons and let the veggie patch behind.
Oh.
But the thing, like, it just goes in like times at the moment, and now it's a very busy time.
Yeah.
Very busy time. So that'll then calm down again.
Yeah.
But that'll always be the case for you.
I really like that proactive nature for setting that last Friday of the month though, because I find that if I don't intentionally carve out the time, that I have to take it reactively, and I have to take it at a point where I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm about to explode. I need to go and take half a day to decompress and do something for me. Whereas I've tried to get a bit more proactive about that as I've taken up surfing and go, okay, well, I know that I'm going to take that time away from the desk, away from computer, away from everything. But I love that you have this practice and this continuous, intentional time for you and yourself and creating the look back, but also the look forward.
Yeah. And I mean, we probably go on a fancy lunch date once a week.
Well, once a fortnight.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Just go out and go to a nice fancy restaurant where we're the daggiest people in there.
Amazing.
Sometimes I don't get out of my Ugg boots.
We're not generally that fancy. We like the Japanese joint on the street.
We do, yeah, that's really good, yeah.
And what about you, Matt? Have you got any self-dating practices?
I wouldn't say self-dating.
Time alone?
Well, surfing's obviously something you love.
Yeah, so I just do. If I'm not doing that, then I'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went away last weekend before last for 5 days or something with some mates. And so I get away a bit doing that. And whenever, it's very conditions dependent for me. So sometimes it might be a week without doing anything, and then it might be 3 days straight. And that's why I like the flexibility.
And this is what I mean, like, our life actually suits us really well in going, it suits me beautifully that I get to do what I want to do in work and doing all of that. But it suits Matt beautifully that he doesn't have any demands on him, that when the surf is up, he can disappear for days on end and just be like, yeah, I can do this. I've got this. And I think that's I'm really happy when I get to do all the things that I feel like I'm just setting the world on fire. And he's really happy when he gets time in the ocean and with his mates and lots of laughs and doing that. And like often we'll have people will say to Matt, God, how do you deal with your wife? Because she's so intense. And then people will say to me, seriously? Like you let your husband just go off for a 4-hour surf and do that? But we've always been very happy to let each other be happy, which I think is a big thing.
Yeah, to no detriment. At no point do I let the rest of my life fall apart.
No.
So that's a big thing that some people need to remember as well. Though. Like I don't just neither of us let the other part of the life fall apart.
Yeah.
Like you may devote to this bit for a bit, but then you've still got the other bit under control.
Yeah.
You can't just go, oh, no, I'm going, and then just
shirk your responsibilities.
Everything just falls to pieces. Like it's not that simple.
Yeah.
But that's still a priority. Sometimes the timing of things is different.
And I think that comes back to the designing the life that you want to actually live.
Yeah.
And working out how that works for the two of you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be really easy to sit here and as a listener and go, oh, Matt and Tina, you're so lucky. You've got a business where you can just turf off for a couple of days and, you traveled the world and you've done all these things. But I feel like that isn't by luck. All of that has been by conscious choice. So tell us a little bit about some of those choices.
Well, like I said before, like Matt supported me when I had the business vision. And I think a lot of partners would have...
I got a lot of stick when I was doing it.
Yeah, like he had a couple of mates going, you got to put the kibosh on this chick's bleeding you dry. Like just, you did get a lot of stick for it. But, I asked Matt and said, like, trust me, it'll all be worth it, while secretly inside going, oh my God, I hope it's all worth it.
I hope I've got it.
But I've always had big dreams and always kind of, wanted to make my life count and do that in a very wide, impactful way. And so, you've supported me in being able to do that. And I think that's a big thing. And then when we moved just up north of Byron and we lived on a farm there and, it wasn't going to be practical for me to fly everywhere and do business and for Matt to work at the same time. So he decided to become a stay-at-home dad for those years. And, there was a big part of that again, copped a lot of flack from people. And it's getting a little bit more accepted now, but still nowhere near enough. And for both of us, like I would go to events and people would really guilt me into going, where are your kids? And don't you feel bad leaving your kids? I'm like, does any dude feel bad leaving their kids?
And is anyone saying that to the dad?
Never. So we've always lived a life less ordinary and supported each other through that. But we definitely sacrificed a lot. We lived very frugally for years in funneling everything back in with the hope and the dream that it would all like pay off financially for us. And then it did, which was great. But there's at no point do I go, it's not luck. Yeah, it took a long time to be able to do that, and a lot of trial and error and a lot of figuring out how best to be with one another and how best to parent too with the kids and how that was going to work with our lives as well.
So thank you two for joining us. So before we wrap up though, I just want to know, what's your number one top tip from each of you for keeping a relationship fueled up?
Yeah, so you definitely want to have intimate connection. It's definitely a big point. You want to have, if something's irking you and it's driving you crazy personally about the other person and you're not speaking up about it, then it's coming out in another way, whether you think you're hiding it or not. It's always, you're better off to talk about it, despite how hard that can be sometimes. But you're better off to have a confronting conversation early than to have not had that conversation and have some long-standing issue that destroys it, So that's the old short-term pain, long-term gain run, really. And always, like we said before, just, I always want the best for you. And
It takes two to party. I mean, we went and saw a marriage counsellor when the kids were young because I wanted more children and Matt didn't want more children. And that was devastating to me because I wanted like a menagerie of children. And one of the things that we decided there was divorce is never an option. Even though marriage basically says that, a lot of people, like you said before, Sammy, have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so when we committed to both, divorce is never an option. Like we're till death do us part, 100%, absolutely. But also that we will be super kind to each other and try to make each other happy. And if our goal every day is to make one another happy and do the best that we can, then it's always going to end well.
Even if you just do one nice thing in the day, like that's
Yeah.
not that hard.
Yeah.
One nice thing in the day can be the difference. Just to always
And
do
I
something
think
nice.
that's
Put a smile on the other person's face.
Yeah. And that never stops. Like we've been together this is like a practical example. We've been together 20 years and today I was exhausted. I've worked like 45 days straight or something because I'm coming up to my book launch and events and it's crazy. And I got off a masterclass this morning and I just needed to sit down for an hour. So I went in and watched an hour's episode of TV in the middle of the day, which I never do. But I got into bed and turned the TV on and he brought me in my lunch. And then on the side of the plate was a spoonful of Nutella.
Oh.
And I'm just like, man, like
That's love.
right? Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's those little things that just make me go, like, I feel loved when he does those sort of things. And so as long as that never stops, like, why would you go anywhere? What could be better?
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful insight. And I thank you for sharing the actual real life example of what that looks like in action.
Yeah.
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 Hey, so we want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a really great conversation and we hope that it sparked some nice memories. But to say thank you, we've provided a student in Indonesia with a week of classroom education. Basically in Borneo, it's really uncommon for girls to be sent to school past the primary school. So supporting this project encourages parents to keep sending their particularly female children to schools.
I love that. Good work.
Yeah, looked after by Friends of National Parks Foundation, and we've made that possible via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. So thank you so much for making that possible.
Good work. I love that you do that.
Yeah.
Thanks. So Tina and Matt, if people want to connect with you or learn a little bit more about what you do or
One of the books
Yeah.
or businesses.
How should they do that?
Yeah. So new book is nearly out, $1 Million Micro Business. You can find me at tinatower.com. Tag me on Instagram when you're listening to this episode. Matt, you will not find any.
The fugitive.
He is on Instagram, but under a fake name,
a
so
Finsta.
that no one that is in my business world will ever actually find him. And this is like, we're always super private about our personal life. So yeah, this will be interesting.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.